Good evening. I'm Tom Conrad, the Superintendent of Schools in the Nauset District, and welcome to Superintendent Spotlight, a half-hour show dedicated to knowing about the people who work in central office or programs that we're involved with throughout the district. Tonight's guest is Barbara Lavoine, and Barbara, great to have you here.
Thank you.
And Barbara is the technology coordinator for the entire district, a big job that is always in the forefront the last few years as we've grown with technology in all of our buildings throughout the district. So Barbara, I know you've been with us a few years, and where'd you come from anyways?
I was in Bourne Public Schools for 11 years, and then I transitioned to Nauset Public Schools in 2011. So I've been here almost 5 years, and I've seen the district transform itself from technology to just an amazing place today, and an opportunity for us to grow and really use technology.
So you're exactly right, Barbara. There's been some huge changes.
Absolutely.
In the field of technology in our schools. So I think one of your first challenges, maybe you can speak to, is what you inherited in terms of the infrastructure for our technology.
Well, I inherited, for lack of a good description, a mess. We had very, very old technology. All our switches were 7 to 10 years old. We had servers that were the same age. Some of them were actually running NT3, which is really old in terms of an operating system. Some buildings did not even have a server. So with the cooperation of all the building principals and folks within the district, we set about making changes. And the first thing that we did is we replaced all of the switches, including the token ring switch at Nauset Middle School, which was very old. Then from there, that summer, I guess the following summer, my first summer in the district, we added servers to all of our elementary schools. We replaced the server at the middle school, and we added a server at the high school. From there, our next task was actually having consistent antivirus throughout the district. When I came, there was a lot of free licenses that didn't always update the definitions and things like that. So we set about making sure that every computer, including the servers, were protected against viruses and things like that. After that, the next task was wireless. We began with our elementary schools. In fact, Orleans Elementary School was the first school in the district to have wireless. We had limited dollars, so we put in about 8 access points so that people could, pretty much go anywhere in the building and access internet services and email and things like that. From there, we added all the other elementary schools. And while we were doing all of that, we replaced the Cat3 cable from the middle school. The middle school had been remodeled, I guess, around 25 years ago. And at the time they did the remodel, Cat3 and Cat5, or Cat5 cabling, which is the speed of data, how it transfers through our network environment or to the internet, was just coming out. So they didn't quite have Cat5 there. So Cat3 had to be recabled, and we put in Cat6, which is, again, how fast data transfers itself through the network. That resolved a lot of problems at the middle school in the 6th grade wing. They weren't getting access quick enough, so we did that. And then we added wireless internet access, consistent wireless internet access at the middle school. And then, of course, we did the high school. And it's interesting to note that having the wireless access consistent really has made a tremendous difference in student learning, teaching, instruction, and all those factors. In fact, our outside courtyard here at the high school is actually lit up, to use a technical term, so that kids in the courtyard can actually access resources and information. So
the interesting piece of this is that it all had to be paid for.
Correct.
And that was an interesting process because it didn't come cheap, did it?
No, it didn't. Just if I can toss some figures out, Just putting in new switches at the high school was about $60,000, give or take. Putting in wireless infrastructure at the high school was around $130,000. So they were very expensive projects, but well worth it,
Sure.
considering what we have today and how we can really move forward to bring 21st century learning to our kids and really make them prepared for life beyond Nauset Public Schools. So.
And the key was, of course, that the school committees throughout our district had to look at the operating budgets and find a way to weave in this sort of investment for the future for our kids.
Absolutely. The school committee, the towns, everyone has been tremendously cooperative in moving this project forward and making us really a we're close to being cutting edge. I'm not sure if we can ever be cutting edge because I always like to let the big companies test out and evaluate new product. But we're in very good shape infrastructure-wise and looking forward to really taking that step and bringing it into teaching and learning. So
as you've been working on this, we've needed some help. I mean, you couldn't possibly stay on top of this. You'd be here 24/7, 365 days. So you've got some staff now.
I have 3 fabulous people that work for me directly in terms of technical support. My number 1 techie, I actually have a number 1 and a number 1. Ralph Kramer handles many of the high-level technical pieces for our network, and Mackenzie Yarlitz works side by side with him. They now manage the servers, the firewalls. They ensure all the imaging and installation of applications. They address anything that comes up in the buildings. About a year ago, what we did is, as we went one-to-one at our high school level, we hired a help desk technician, Sam Kean, who's been doing an excellent job. He works very well with the students. They pop in and he takes care of their problems. He manages all of the MDM aspects of our one-to-one program with the assistance of Mackenzie Yarlitz. Without those 3 folks and our tech coordinators, because they do a lot in the buildings, we wouldn't be able to be as successful as we are today. So they're top-notch.
Yeah, I applaud your. You put a lot of thought to how you rolled out personnel in your department, because Ralph was with us first.
Correct.
As you were really heavily involved in the infrastructure piece of it.
Absolutely.
And then Mackenzie came as we expanded the use of technology in our elementary schools for the most part. And then, of course, with the high school going to the one-to-one that you mentioned,
Correct.
we saw that help desk, because we have how many devices, how many iPads on the campus?
We have about 970 student devices, along with another 110 or 20 staff devices, as well as approximately 300 desktop computers, and approximately 43, 45 interactive boards, hover cameras, document cameras, and things like this that are all used in instruction. So they keep themselves busy. I might add that Ralph is a gem for the district. Before he came on board officially, he had done a lot of hourly work within the district, and as soon as we had an opportunity to hire him, we grabbed him. That's how good he is.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
there's no question that the feedback on all 3 have been very, very positive, and building a great team is a critical piece to this, because you're dealing with our teachers every day on various issues.
Absolutely. It's about customer service and taking care of the end user.
Yeah. All right, so now the viewers are understanding how you developed this whole infrastructure for us. And you were heavily involved in developing technology plans.
Correct.
And we find them throughout the system, don't we?
Absolutely. About 2 years ago, actually, or is it 3 years ago?
Time's flying.
Yeah, time moves quickly. We put together a committee to address the region technology, since we had updated the infrastructure and we were ready to make that big push into the teaching and learning aspect of technology, we had a committee form. We created a technology plan, which is posted on our website, nausetschools.org. And then we started implementing some of those parts. For example, hiring Sam Keon, our help desk person, hiring a technology integration specialist in Lisa Olandella, who's also done a fabulous job. At that point, we wanted to add a little bit more to the remaining K-5 districts. So we created a K-5 blueprint committee, and we spent a year looking at what would be good for that environment to make sure we moved the entire district forward with technology, not just the region. So we put that plan together. This past year, what we've done is we have taken our technology plans and we've created an action plan so that we make sure we follow through on all of our information and plans and goals within the technology plans for both K-5 and 6 to 12. So we worked on that process to make sure we're hitting those target moments, because all too often a technology plan, like other plans, gets put on the shelf or it sits on the website for 5 years until it has to be redone. So we don't want that to happen here in Nauset. We want to make sure that we move all of our goals forward, and that's what we're doing now.
The interesting piece is that it brings consistency, doesn't it, across the entire district, particularly with 5 elementary schools.
Absolutely. It's, you know, this past year, along with completing our action plan, we're doing a couple of other things. The state has a draft plan of technology standards that were just released in December of 2015. So we've adapted those. We quite haven't adopted them yet because we know there'll be a few changes, but we're looking at the technology standards to make sure that they're consistent from grade level to grade level as we move up the line. This summer we have a team of 4 or 5 staff that will actually write curriculum based on those technology standards so that we have some consistency as we move through to make sure that we're teaching things like internet safety, cyberbullying, and proper research techniques, elements of that process throughout our K-12 environment. We've also put in place Google Apps, all K-12, so that any student in the district can use Google Docs, Sheets, and presentations. We don't allow the elementary students to use email, so that feature is not functioning, but they have access now to begin building electronic portfolios so that by the time they graduate high school, they have this entire body of work that they can gather and collect in their entire career here at Nauset. So.
Barbara, as the viewers are watching this, it might be helpful for them to know who's on these technology committees that you've formed.
Okay. We have a combination of teaching staff as well as our technology coordinators. So we have representatives from each building as well as a few teachers. For example, we have Judy Undergraf from Orleans. We have Perry Andak from Eddy. We have all my technology coordinators, which includes Lisa Holmes. We have Nancy Von Walden. We have Don Stieber, Chuck Hollander-Essig, Brianne Mesna. Lisa Olandella attends, as well as Mayan Hammond.
So you have a wide mix of educators who sit in with you
Absolutely.
on basically a monthly basis,
Correct.
right?
Correct. They're all, with the exception of Lisa, who's our technology integration specialist, they're all classroom teachers. So they're intimately aware of what needs to be done in the classroom and how we need to move technology and bring that forward. So and they're all nice people to boot. So
and they're bringing from different vantage points some input into what we need to do for student learning going forward.
Exactly, you know, so we can cover the K-12, 6 to 8, as well as 9 to 12.
So the tech coordinator, you've mentioned that a couple of times. and they're in all of our buildings.
Correct.
And what's their role for us in this process, Barbara?
Today, their primary role is to work with teachers. They have two basic roles. The first is to do basic lab instruction for students within their building. Mm-hmm. And their second key role as we move into FY17 will be to work with teaching staff to develop lessons, to show them how they can use technology in instruction, answer questions, provide tech support resources. Another item that they'll be doing is making sure that our web page within their building areas are maintained. So they really are key people because they're go-to people within the buildings. I give an example. Don Stieber does events called once a month called Appy Hours, which is kind of a play on happy hour, but it's about apps and using apps with the iPads that are now coming into the district. We have many of our tech coordinators do presentations at staff meetings to either inform or educate current staff, their co-staff peers within the building about what's coming and what's going out and new products, and sometimes it's just as simple as how to access a piece of information within the district. So they actually do quite a bit, but their full-time job is, of course, teaching and assisting staff.
So the viewers understand, our students are involved in classes in technology, aren't they?
Yes, they actually at our K-8 level, there's formal scheduled classes in which students go, depending upon the school and the grade level, anywhere from 30 to 50 minutes. At the high school, that's broken up a little bit different. We have, for example, we have Larry Sousa, who handles a lot of the programming and computer-related stuff. We have staff that actually use the technology. We're going to move our cyberbullying and internet safety into our PE and health department, as a course within there to make sure that we're covering it. We have graphic arts that are done with Jane McGowan and other spots in the art department and so forth. So it's mixed in a little bit differently, but everybody, students at the high school, as well as our K-8 students, all have access to technology.
And the coordinators in the elementaries are primarily the ones giving the instruction.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
So they have a pretty full plate with just
Absolutely.
their teaching.
Absolutely.
With the addition of being the coordinator in each of their buildings.
Correct, that's right.
Yeah.
They have very little downtime.
Now, you mentioned technology integration.
Yes.
And that has been a big focus for us in terms of bringing that position into our district. Why a technology integration position, Barbara?
Well, a technology integration person is truly essential as we provide staff with technology and tools. We also need to provide the how-to process. How do we make sure that they are using technology for ELA? It's a process. Victoria Mosley, who did her dissertation on this whole technology integration piece, identifies that it's a 3 to 5 year process to make sure that staff seamlessly integrates technology into their curriculums. So what do we mean by that? In days of yesterday, we might have all the students go to the library and they would research a topic if they were doing something in social studies. Today, because of the technology, we can actually bring that directly into the classroom, which means kids are getting the information instantaneously, and they're getting information from a wide number of resources that, of course, can be controlled by the teacher in terms of what they present. But the resources are current. Many of our books in the library might have been written in 1950, 1970. As we know, the world has changed.
Slightly.
Slightly. There's no such thing as the USSR anymore. So having access to immediate information is essential. It also makes kids prepared for a global environment because everything is so global. Today you can, tweet or go on social media and immediately gather, 1,000 people for an event, or quickly sway the process of an election or a campaign. So making sure our kids use those tools in the classroom and that the teacher brings those processes in is important. It's also much more engaging for the student. To learn in terms of just sitting there for, in the case of the high school, we have 90-minute sessions. So if it's hard when you're a young person to sit there for 90 minutes and listen to something. So when you bring in technology, you make it a little bit more engaging.
One of the concerns when you look back over the few years you've been with us is the cost of all of this. And we knew from lots of people in our communities that they wanted to know that the technology would be used. And we recognized very early that teachers were all different skill sets, weren't they?
Absolutely.
And this integration position was a critical piece to helping teachers grow professionally as well, right?
Absolutely. First of all, I invite any, I shouldn't say I, but I'm sure the building principal would love to have people come in and see how technology is being used, especially our school committee members. And the other light moment here is if you were to walk into a classroom and try to take somebody's smartboard, I think they'd really be after you. So there's a tremendous amount of technology being used. It is expensive. It's not a cheap product, sadly. There's very, very competitive pricing in the K-12 world because it's the finances are different in our K-12 environment. But in addition to providing technology integration, we also offer a tremendous amount of professional development. I've worked very closely with Keith Gawley, our assistant superintendent. We've offered a lot of courses. This year we're offering 5 sessions, 3 of which will be taught by our technology integration people, consisting of the iPad environment, the smartboard environment, and technology integration with a focus on ELA, social studies, math, and science. We hope to have, we do have Greg Kowicki from EdTech Teacher, who'll be doing an iPad presentation, who's fabulous. And I hope to confirm Jennifer Junkins, who is a Google Apps certified trainer. So those will be our 5 focus areas for a PD. And then we'll have flex days during the school year next year in which staff can attend a workshop, 3 2-hour, 2.5-hour session workshops and receive a flex day, but get that. And then on January 3rd, we have similar professional development planned. So our goal is really to make the teacher the best teacher ever when it comes to technology integration between our professional development as well as our tech integration specialists. NOSSET's doing, we've got good staff and good folks, so we're doing well.
So we have that position here at the high school, and we're looking to move forward even into next fall with these positions in place throughout the system.
Correct. Correct. Our technology plan and our technology action plan identifies a technology integration specialist for all areas and all buildings. So we have met that goal, and we're very proud to make sure that we meet that goal because that involves both our technology integrators assisting at our K-8 as well as our technology integration person at the high school. So.
And for the viewers, in our smaller schools, that could be the tech coordinator and in some cases the teacher who's teaching in the classroom as well.
Absolutely. What we've done is because of our enrollment levels as well as our budget, we don't have an endless budget. Everyone wished we did, but we don't. So what we did is we've adjusted the schedule in every building so that we make sure we get between 40 and 50 minutes of actual lab instruction, and then our technology teachers shift over to the technology integration role in which they work directly with staff to co-plan and co-prepare and provide resources and support.
The critical piece, of course, is that we see technology as a tool of learning, and it's used a great deal at different levels and so forth, but it's not out every minute of the day, is it?
No, you certainly don't want technology used 24/7. It's, I think it's a little bit more interesting than a dictionary, but you don't have the dictionary out in every lesson and every moment of your instruction.
Right.
So it's important to note that there will be times when, you know, technology is not the appropriate tool for instruction. So, and a teacher will, of course, know that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Barbara, I'm sorry to tell you, the clock is ticking and we're basically finishing up.
Wow,
so,
that was pretty
listen,
fast.
I want to thank you, and I hope you can come back and join me in a few weeks, because we need to talk about the equipment in the hands of kids and a number of other areas. So to our viewers, I think we've given you a great insight into the progress we're making with technology, with Barbara's leadership. And we promise to come back in a few weeks and finish up this discussion on the technology equipment end of it. Thank you, and good night.